Welcome to FS Podcasts. We are a student initiative from Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, a business school located in Frankfurt, Germany. In our podcast, we like to bring different guests with interesting background to talk to us and share their opinion on various diverse topics.
So, hello and welcome to another episode of FS Podcast. So, my name is George and I'll be your host today. And with me I have...
Hi, I'm Madhur and I'll be a co-host today for this episode.
Cool. And we are more than delighted to have Anne Koark. That's how I say your name, by the way.
That's right.
Yes.
Anne is
Anne.
English and Koark is German.
Oh, all right. I didn't know you were German as well.
No, I'm not German.
Oh, you're not German.
I'm British, but the name is German.
Oh, Koark. I'm having trouble just saying that. Koark.
Koark.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Probably my German teacher, she would be very mad at me if you listen to me saying that. And Anne is not only a management consultant, she's been very famous for her keynote speeches and best-selling author. So, and the first question would be, how do you define yourself?
How do I define myself?
Yeah.
That's a very, very difficult question. I'd usually say what I'll probably say today in the TEDx speech.
Yeah.
I'm a VIP, very intensively penniless.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a very successful failure.
Yeah.
I'm good at getting back up on my feet. I'm good at improvising, and I'm good at finding myself when I think I'm lost.
Oh, okay. So let's get more into that. So today, just to your listeners to know, Frankfurt School is hosting the second TEDx events that they have here, and Anne is one of the magnificent speakers of the evening, of the day actually. And what are you going to talk about today?
I'm going to talk about being a colossal failure, and what it feels like to be a failure, and how you define yourself when you're a failure.
Oh, so just as the first question would be something you're going to approach the topic.
Yes.
Okay.
What are you worth when you have nothing?
Oh wow, that's deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's very deep.
But right now in life, I think you're pretty successful. So how do you look at your past and being a failure? Like at that time, we say that's a failure, but now you look at yourself, you climb the ladder, and now you're at a pretty good spot. So
You know, it's very much like the software business. My life, I think you have a lot of abbreviations in the software business. SaaS, software as a service. I say failure as a service has made me into somebody who can talk about lots of different themes, because I've seen so much in my interaction with people since I went broke. I've spoken to 3,500 people about their businesses, about how they feel in different situations. And that makes you less afraid of failing. And if you're less afraid of failing, somehow you get to be very successful at walking out, because you're just you and people take you for who you are. The chances of having problems, if you're authentic, are lessened in business as well.
But just coming back and see if you got things straight. So you successfully founded a company.
Yes.
I mean, you've studied you're a translator from a university, right?
Well, I studied German in England and Italian.
And Italian, yeah.
But I'd also done mathematics before.
Yeah.
And when I came to Germany, I started out working in the patent business, and then I went on to work in the software business and did all kinds of training. So I've done HR, I've done controlling, I've done marketing, I've done PR. And I translate, and I do very, very quick translations for big companies that want things translated into English quickly. Yeah, so it's also very difficult to say what job I have. I suppose you could say I'm a jack of all trades.
You must have like the overall idea of everything when you're translating. And German, they have very specific words for everything. So imagine translating from English.
Oh, I love German.
Yeah.
I don't know if, with the podcast whether we're allowed to speak a little, to use a German word, but I will. My favorite word in German is Klobrille.
Oh.
I love that word. It means a toilet seat.
Yeah.
In German, they say it's toilet glasses, and it fascinates me because the Germans are normally so accurate.
Yeah.
They should say it's a
Yeah.
toilet monocle,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they don't, and it worries me completely where
Yeah.
they're looking if it's glasses. So it fits in very well with my
Oh,
theme.
man, this is fun. Well, and so you had your own business, and at
Yes.
some point, and during your business, as I recall, you've been very successful in that, and you got some awards,
Yes.
right, and some prizes, and then insolvency came,
Yes.
a difficult time, in 2001, around 2001, 2002, right? And do you expect back then to go into insolvency, or you expected it was just a bad wave?
At the beginning, I thought it was a very, very bad wave.
Yeah.
And the problem is when you're faced with insolvency, there's no cut-off date.
Yeah.
If you're still getting little orders to do work, it's like maybe it'll get better, maybe it'll get better. And you wake up and you walk through the apartment in the middle of the night wondering, should I try and save it or should I fold it
Yeah,
down?
yeah.
And then you think about, well, what would it be like to suddenly look in the mirror and say to yourself, I'm someone who owes someone money. If I can still work, maybe I can stop that happening.
Yeah.
So this insolvency situation, it goes on for ages. 2001 is when it started to be critical, and 2003 was when I actually registered insolvency.
Oh, wow.
And the big thing about it was that I didn't believe that I'd be the kind of person who would get past insolvency.
Yeah.
I really honestly thought that I'd be one of those people who pulls the blanket over their head and never wants to be seen again.
Oh, wow. No one expects that, right? No one expects that you would go someday go to solvency, right? To
No.
solvency. Wow.
No, nobody
And
expects it.
how you overcome that? How did you overcome that?
Well, it's a strange situation. I discovered very early on in insolvency. My
Yeah.
idea was that you work to try and replace the damage that you've caused, but everyone seemed to want to stop me working.
Oh, wow.
Nobody would give me a job because they said you have to hand over your money and your existency minimum. And if we do overtime, you won't want to work. And I went to the bank and I said, I've got a business plan. And they fell off their chairs laughing, saying, hey, you've proven you can't do it. And I thought, it's a weird situation. Somebody needs to do something about it.
Yeah.
And, you always think somebody needs to do something about it. You think, what if somebody's on holiday? Maybe you have to do something about it.
Exactly.
So I got up and wrote an article. And it was called Insolvency Help.
Yeah.
I'm a Human Being.
Okay.
And I sent it out one night to 728 journalists. And the next day, Wall Street Online published it.
Oh, wow.
And I was inundated with people's replies
Yeah.
to this article who counted on me to help them because I was the first person that had outed themselves as being a failure in
out.
Germany, which I found very, very strange, considering that Germany is
Exactly,
the place
right?
of the Trümmerfrauen who got up and after the war,
Yeah.
shoulder by shoulder,
Yeah.
built something up and
Yeah.
proved that failure is something that Germans can really, really conquer
Yeah.
with
don't
their
embrace that.
famous economic miracle.
Yeah.
That's true.
I feel like, of course, I'm a student. I didn't experience much of it, but I did. Yeah, actually, I did. I had some big failures, I would say. But we actually have to embrace it, right? I mean, if you don't embrace the moment you're passing through, I think it's going to be harder to break through.
Well, I think the key thing is to realize that there's one thing that's certain in life. The position of God is
Yeah.
occupied.
Yeah.
None of us are ever going to be perfect.
That's true.
And if you forget to try and be perfect and love yourself the way you are with all your mistakes, and you can then never lose yourself no matter what happens. And you yourself are a great value in all the work that you do, because when you become insolvent, you don't forget how to do your job. You don't forget how to read. You don't forget how to work hard just because you've become insolvent. You've caused damage to something, but it's not about finding out whose fault it is. It's about learning, moving forward, and trying to make what happened good, and to get back up on your feet and keep going. I always say that if you fell over on running to catch a bus and you fell in a puddle that was wet and it was raining, you wouldn't lay down and stay down there saying, I can't get up because this is embarrassing. Let me lay in the mud for the rest of the day. This is really embarrassing. You'd get up and you'd brush yourself down and you'd say, excuse my French, shit happens, but seldom in the same place twice.
But like, even in today's TEDx, you're going to speak about successful people learn from others' mistakes.
Yes.
But in the story of your life, you learned a lot from your mistakes. So how is it different from learning from your own mistakes because they have a greater impact on you rather than from others?
Well, when I actually speak today, I will talk about what people's expectations are when you say successful people learn from the mistakes of others, because I think it's all about, for example, how children grow up when they learn from their parents, and that you yourself can show other people how to deal with failure, and that's the thing that you have to learn about. There is no recipe for avoiding failure. There are some things that will make it less probable, but there's always some kind of failure in someone's life, whether you don't manage to pass an exam, or whether your relationship breaks down, whether you're ill. There's always some kind of unsurmountable thing that changes the way you see yourself. And learning from others to reinvent yourself in the situation, that's very important. You know, some of the language about failing, it comes from sailing. And if people sail, I don't sail, I've read a lot about it though because of the language. If people sail, they have this one thing that if there's a headwind, if there's a wind that you have to sail against, if you don't have a motor on board and you keep trying to go the same way, you'd run out of supplies and die. You have to zigzag through life. And that's what I want to talk about today, this expectation that there's a recipe for avoiding failure, and that there's the secret recipe is inside yourself, and it's learning to reinvent yourself from others that will help you to go through failure. There is no way of avoiding failure. Everyone experiences it sometime, somewhere in their life, and the thing is to then still believe in yourself. We try and tell children at school, for example, if you take extra tuition, if you're bad in something, then you will pass the exam. But what if you don't? What if you don't? There's always a possibility that you won't. What's your value if you fail at that exam? You're still the same person. You've still got your laughter, your initiative, you've still got ideas, you've still got creativity that you can use to do something else. One of my biggest assets in failing was that I got to write a book in German. I would never have written a book in German if I hadn't failed. I got to hold speeches. I'd never held a speech before. And every time I get on stage, I'm not somebody who's not frightened. It's not that I'm not frightened of failure. I sit at the front of every event that I'm in and think, oh, why am I sitting at the front? If I disappeared, if I was at the back, nobody'd notice. And then I have this feeling, the fear comes up. And then I've developed something that's called not fighting yourself in situations. I say, hello, fear. You here again? Come on, let's get up on stage. We've got a speech to hold.
That's nice. That's really nice. And that's what actually one of the questions. I mean, so after you wrote the article and people start to reach out to you when you're helping them to overcome their own failures. So that's actually what got you to write the book also in German.
Yes.
Yes.
And to hold speeches.
And to hold speeches in
and
German.
to hold speeches, and then the interaction with the people. We have 60% suicide endangerment amongst people going into insolvency.
That's very serious.
Which is very, very sad if you think the fact that you're going to lose money is worth more than losing your life. And I decided that somebody had to do something about that too. So I then started holding speeches, and then I was awarded a prize in Germany, which makes me laugh because the Germans always say they have no humour, but they awarded me the Lady Business Award right in the middle of insolvency when I didn't have any business anymore.
Yeah. Funny. but congrats for the award. My late congrats for the award. This morning I was just scrolling down my Instagram, and one of the people that I admire, one person I admire, is Bosma St. John. She's the chief marketing officer of Endeavor, was chief brand officer at Uber, worked for Apple, whatever. It was just a clip of her interview to Kate Koark or something like this, saying about how she embraced her failure and how this failure that she had multiple times in her life helped her to overcome and to become who she is today and to achieve the success that she is today. And she really enjoyed, or still enjoyed, this jungle gym, as she said. So I would say, for just having a very short question, that would be, how do we know we're ready to move when we reach the bottom and you're ready to go up and reach your sky again?
Why do you need to know when you're ready to move? I think that's key to that question.
Yeah.
There are some situations in life you just can't plan. And when you're down, the only way up, the only
Is
way to
up.
go forward is up. Is up. So you can sit down and keep hitting yourself and saying, I'm down, I'm down, I'm down. Am I
Yeah.
ready to move, or am I not ready to move?
Yeah.
Or you can start climbing the stairs one by one. And I think sometimes we tend to think, I'll sit and I'll make a plan and I'll be up Mount Everest as soon as possible. But even Mount Everest has a base camp and then
Yeah.
another camp to stop at. There are steps that you go up, and if you take it day by
Yeah.
day and just start, then you will move. And I think it's very important not to think about
Yeah.
when to go, but to just do it.
Just go.
To just do it. I come from a family that has had several failures. One
Yeah.
of my uncles, his farm burnt down, and
Oh,
he
wow.
decided on the spur of the moment to start part of the land from the insurance money doing chrysanthemums, flowers.
Okay.
And he's the biggest seller of chrysanthemums
That's great.
in Great Britain.
Wow.
And he just did it, just like that.
Just
He
like that.
tried it. What's going to happen? If you've fallen down, lower than down doesn't exist. So you can try anything.
That's true.
It's not going to get worse.
Yeah, like you said that if you fail, you still have those qualities that, so you're not going negative, you always reach the point zero. So there's only positive from there.
I think the main thing is just keep believing in yourself. And if it feels really hard to get back up, motivate yourself to be positive and laugh. I wrote in lipstick on my mirror in the bathroom, "Morning, darling," because on the bad days when I got up, I'd go to the mirror feeling like, oh, I can't do anything at all. And then I'd see "Morning, darling," and it made me laugh. And that lady in the mirror laughing back at me,
Yeah.
she helped me keep moving on.
We're getting at the end of the episode, but before that, I would like to ask you some 3 key questions that we always ask our guests. Adur, would you like to be?
Yes.
is it
So
pleasure?
so the first question we're gonna ask is, whom do you look up to when you had that failure? Whom did you look up to and as an ideal to go up the ladder and be successful?
I think the person I looked up to was my grandmother.
Oh.
My grandmother had said to me as a very young child, if you're frightened, don't run away from fear, because fear's a watchdog. It'll run after you and bite you in your backside, she used to say.
Yeah.
And I thought what a wonderful and very wise thing to have said that I didn't understand as a child.
Yeah.
I looked up to her, and I look up to people like Walt Disney,
Okay.
who in the middle of the biggest failure, no money, invented Mickey Mouse.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. If you if you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be and why?
Oh, that's a very wonderful question. I don't think I really want to be anywhere else in the world at the moment other than in the Frankfurt School, because the way that I've been received today with so many friendly people, it kind of feels like home. But if I were to be able to go on a long journey, I think I'd like to sit back in Nepal
Okay.
at the house of the people that, when we broke down with the bus, invited us to dinner, although they had very, very little, because that is one of the biggest things
Yeah.
that I've remembered in my life, the generosity of strangers who just invite you in and make you part of their lives. I don't really like to be places where people are all about what's outside. I like to be in places where it's all about what's inside.
Let's see. I have multiple questions about the topic just now, but I have to ask the last one. But we're gonna save it for the bonus. So, where are the most incredible places you've been, and if there's any other place like Nepal that you would describe that people have this not only as culture, but that's the way they grew up in being so so aware of other people and so deeply how can I say?
Welcoming to other people.
Yeah.
I think I've been to a lot of places in the world. I liked being in Thailand, for example. They were very, very welcoming. What I loved about the people in Thailand is they didn't care what religion you had. They didn't care what color your skin was.
Yeah.
They didn't care what educational level you had. If you were there, then they were going to have a party with you, no matter where you came from. So I loved being there.
You
Fun
like Asia,
people.
yeah.
I've been to Africa too, in Kenya. I had a very, very nice conversation with a man in Kenya who explained to me how difficult it is to live democracy if you grow up in a country where there are tribes.
That's true.
And explained a different perspective on everything to me. I love that. I love to look through other people's eyes and try and understand what are the differences and what are the common things. And one of the biggest common things that we have is it doesn't matter where you go in the world, everyone loves their children.
Yeah.
And if we can learn to love that little inner child who's still inside of us and take that spirit, then we're a long way to changing the world and the economy to be more ethical and to be soundly successful.
Yeah, and one last thing we wanted to ask is that I've heard a lot of people say the best success comes after the worst failure. So, if that failure didn't happen in your life and everything ran smooth, do you think that you would be at the same place you are right now? And how big impact did it have on you?
Failure had an enormous impact
Yeah.
on me because I lost absolutely everything, even the apartment that I was living in. So it's not something that I would say that you really have to do. But when you get up after a terrible failure, you learn to be who you are and to do what you want to do. It's this great thing if you are going to be earning the same money no matter what you do, then you do something you really love doing. And I think we often are wary of not changing course if we notice we don't like doing something. And that's a shame. If it's your life, love what you do. And if you don't love it, change it.
Yeah.
And many, many thanks for your participation.
Yeah.
My
We're
pleasure.
delighted to have
Thank you so much.
My
And
pleasure.
we hope actually we can record many other episodes with you in the future. So, and
I'd love to.
yeah, with you, definitely.